Good morning, guys. This is Praveen here from Manage Engine AD Solutions team. I'm one of the lead technical consultants over here. So thank you so much again for registering and being a part of the day two session today. Thank you so much for that. So before we step right into it, I'll just have to apologize for the 3 minute delay. I'm very sorry about it. Just had some trouble starting the broadcast. And it would be great if you guys can just take a minute out and tell me over the chat window if you can hear me clear and if you can see my session in a screen properly. Great. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much. And again, I'm very sorry about the delay. What happened over here? Okay. Right. So let's just jump into our session today. As always, I can see like a few new people over here. So I will have to go through the logistics again, taking you to the manageengine.com landing page. So we have a lot of documents. Just go to the manageengine.com page here, go to products, and you will have a security hardening tool document for your Active Directory. Just go to this page, scroll to the end near the bottom, and you have a lot of blue boxes over here. This is more than enough you will have everything over there in order to secure your Active Directory environment. So go through these documents and drop us an email in case if you guys have any suggestions or changes or questions. Please drop us an email anytime. We'll be more than happy to help you. And the last thing with the logistics is all these sessions will be recorded. And once we are done with the session for these 4 days, we will get you the slides and the recordings once we're done with all the complete package, the 4-day session. And I have one of my product experts on the line with me right now and whatever questions you guys come across during the session, please put it through the chat window and our product expert will be more than happy to help you. And if in case a few of your questions just goes unanswered, we apologize for that. But just don't worry. Once the session is done, we will drop you guys an email with the answer for your question. Okay. So with no further delay, we're just going to step into today's agenda. Today, we're going to see about real-world IT security and compliance challenges that AD Audit Plus can help you solve. Okay. So yesterday was more about like why do you need to audit your Active Directory and why you cannot depend upon the native auditing tool completely, why you need AD Audit Plus and how to configure it. Today, we're going to see, we're just going to talk about your pain, what events, what are the things that an admin will love to have an IG on. You guys want to be on top of the changes happening in your domain. So what are those things that you would like to have some instant reports or instant alerts when something happens in the domain? That's what our agenda is for today. So we're going to discuss about the top security events and the changes that you guys would like to track and tracking user logon and log off activities. And why that again? Because you all would have come through pain, right? So frequent account lock catch, as we discussed earlier. So let's say some of your elite users account just goes locking out frequently. Unless and until you resolve that, you guys are under a bit of pressure. So AD Audit Plus can give you a helping hand over there. We're going to see how we can get that done and what is the maximum help that AD Audit Plus can give you. And the next thing will be we're going to look into privilege escalation. Let it be group modifications, delegations, or that's permission changes, or GPO modifications. We're going to look a bit deep into them. And the last thing will be we're going to see how AD Audit Plus can let you know when something happens, and also how AD Audit Plus can take some action on its own and tell you that this is what I did over there. Okay, so with no further delay, we're going to step into the product. I'm going to take you guys into the AD Audit Plus console. Okay, so this is AD Audit Plus console for the few people over here will be customers and a few will be looking into the product. So let me just give you a dry run. First thing, what you see over here is the home tab. This gives you a neat dashboard of all the changes happening in your domain. And this guy, you also have a summary view over here. If some of our customers have not scheduled this, I will recommend you guys please do it today. Just put in an email ID over here and get this configured. So every day you come into the office, you know what exactly happened in the domain. Everything, right from the auth to any configuration changes over there. Okay. Now we'll just step into the reports. This is what the first pane, what I'm going to talk about, auditing the authentications happening in your domain. That is actually very much important. because as I said before, every domain has a pane that is frequent lockouts. Or let's say you bought a tool, you bought AD Plus, or you're looking into AD Plus to be a bit proactive. So you need to know in a brute force, let's say, it's an age-old trick, but still it happens over there. Let's say a brute force happens or a password spray happens. You need to be notified immediately so you guys can take some action on it and stop the attack over there. That is the reason we concentrate a lot on the logon, the authentication auditing within AD Plus. Okay, so if you look at the report, you're going to get this info. Who was the user who failed the authentication over here, what computer he was using, and which DC denied him the authentication. So let's say, let's take my account over here. I'm going to search for my account. And let's say you find like my account is failing number of times, like 10, 15, 100 times within like an hour or 2 hours over here. What do we have? We have like major two possibilities. One, it might be a brute force. Someone has planted the malware in your domain, and the malware is actually targeting my account, and it's trying different passwords. A script is being executed, and it's trying different passwords on my account to get in, right? So that's number one. That's the possibility one. Or the second possibility, it's not an attack. You don't have to worry about it. But again, this is the most painful, stale passwords. I will have like some 4 mobile devices. I would be running some services with my user account. You guys push the password policy in the domain. The users change it, but they will definitely forget about like all the other components where they actually put in their password. Right? So let's see how AD Plus can help you in both these cases. Now we're going to talk about the first case. I'm taking you into the alert section because I'm going to tell you how customizable alerts are within AD Plus. So you guys can create it yourself, or in case if you have something in your mind, a scenario which is feasible and native, you guys can drop us an email. We'll come up with something. We'll get it scheduled for you. We'll get it created for you. So now we're going to create an alert for multiple authentication failures. Okay, I'm just giving a name, a description, and that is critical for me. Now I'm going to tell the product what it has to, for what action it has to drop me an email. So I'm going to choose account logon, and I'm going to choose all user logons. So now when any user logs into, just gets authenticated in your domain over there, let it be a success or a failure, the product will drop you an email. But we don't need that. We just need failures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add a filter. And you can filter like in multiple ways. So I'm going to do event type contains failures. Now the product will drop you an email only when a failure happens in a domain. Now we don't need that as well. You users type in wrong password, like typos. So now for that case, we're talking about an attack over here. So we need to give a threshold. Might be 10 events in 1 minute, and if it comes from the same user account, that might be a brute force, or if it comes from the same IP address, the same client host name, that might be a password spray. If it happens for multiple users from one malware infected computer, that might be a password spray. So we're going to choose these 3 constant variables over there, and if this anomaly happens, 10 failures in 1 minute for one particular user, or for multiple users but from the same computer or for the same IP address, the product has the capability to drop you an email. The product has the capability to send you an SMS notification if you guys have an SMS gateway configured over there. Right. So that's cool. So when a brute force starts, when an attack starts in the domain, you get notified about it immediately. So you can barge in, see what exactly happened, stop the attack over there. That's the beauty of alert. It happens in real time. That's a bit reactive, right? So let's make it a bit proactive as well. This is the automated response section. So what if this happens on a weekend? Let's say on a Saturday night, where you guys cannot barge in immediately when you get an alert and see what's happening, right? You're not available readily. And as you guys know, if you guys are still having an 8-character password in the domain, brute force will hardly take 4 to 5 hours to crack it. That's all it takes. So if it happens on a Saturday evening, possibilities of that attack being a successful one is 100%. So what I can do in that case is you can get some more help from the product. You can call some scripts over here. Script meaning I'm talking about like a batch file, a YubiKey command, or a partial command, YubiKey file or a partial command. So let's say for an example, I have a batch file which can do 2 actions for me. One, it can disable an active directory account, and 2, it can like shut down a computer, bring down a computer from the network. So what's going to happen is when my account is being compromised, when somebody is typing, is trying a lot of bad passwords on my account, my admin will be notified, but the product will not stop. It will not wait for the admin to do some action over there. It's going to call that particular batch file, and the batch file will disable my active directory account, and it will shut down the malware infected computer, which is my computer. Right? So the product helped you stop an attack when it was happening. So you have the time frame, the breathing space to come back again and see what exactly happened. Even if if this attacker just goes parallelly within a domain, if another computer is compromised, if another account is compromised, because that's how it happens. It just goes, the attackers keep on compromising multiple accounts over there, right? How many ever accounts get compromised within a domain, or how many ever computers get infected by the malware? Every account will be disabled and every computer will be shut down by the batch file over there. So you don't have to worry about it. Okay. So these batch files, you guys have to, you will have to create it by yourself. But again, if you want like basic batch files like account disabling or shutting down a computer, ejecting a USB might be something like that basic, you guys can just drop us an email and we will be more than happy to send it across to you. You can just test it out. Okay. So that's one. We saw about an attack over here. That's perfect. Now the second option, the most painful, stale passwords is what we spoke about, right? So let's say, it's not an attack. It's a stale password. So if you look at it again, you guys can find out what computer I was actually using to log in on that day, right? So if you scroll a bit towards the right, you will have an option called as details, analyze the details. So when you click that details button, what's going to happen is the product will kind of use the Windows API and scan the machine where the authentication actually came from. And it's going to tell you if any one of these components is storing my username and password or not. For example, in this case, my domain controllers has a service called as ADSelfService Plus, and that's running with my user account over here. I have actually, made a remote interactive logon from this computer. This is my actual workstation. What are the processes that is running on the PC with my user account over here? All these information. If I have mapped any network drive over here, everything will be listed. So these are not exactly pinpointing the problem for you, but again, it's just giving you some heads up because these are the things which you admins would have to get into each and every machine when you get a complaint, and you will have to go and search independently. But the product is bringing all these information for you in your screen over there. So if you find any of these, you can ask the user to re-enter the username and password, and that could be fixing a problem in most of the cases. Right? That's number one. In a few cases, what will happen is you will find the client host name as your exchange server, which means like the user is actually doing an OA activity, or the user is trying from a mobile device, an active sync enabled device. At that case, when you click the analyze the details, the product will scan the IAS logs in the exchange server. For that, you will have to enable IAS logging like on both servers, and it will tell you if the user has OA enabled or not. And it's going to also give you the list of active sync enabled devices with the device ID. So if you find 4 or 5 device ID in active sync enabled devices, possibilities one will have the wrong password over there. So that might fix a problem if you re-enter it again. Right? So if nothing from here is storing the username and password, because we users tend to download some software, give our username and password in some console mode, right? So even that can be tracked, but for that you will have to audit the independent workstations within the product. Okay, so what it can do is you will just have to come near applications and click on this hyperlink. It's going to tell you all these are the local logons that happened on that particular computer, the success or failure. It tells you from which path, which process actually triggered that particular logon event as well. So let's say I'm running a software layer, for example, AD Manager Plus for Manage Engine, and I'm running it in a console mode over here. If you get in, it's going to tell you program files x86, AD Manager Plus, Java or exe. So you can find that that guy is actually the root cause for the problem. This is more than enough for you guys to find out, in most of the cases, to track the lockouts over there. And if nothing of these is going to help you, you know what to do. You'll have to start with the credential manager, and you'll have to put in some manual efforts over there. But you don't have to go there. 90%, 95%, this will be more than enough to sort your problems. Okay, great. So that is all. So next thing, what I would like you guys to track today, if you guys have not set that up, is users logged into multiple computers. Okay. So let's say I'm going to go behind 10 days. This is how it looks like. Because a few companies, wouldn't have restricted users from logging into multiple computers, but you guys have a policy that they should not be doing it. Or let's say a simple thing: if you guys have a desktop team over there, and they are the people who will be going around the office and helping users over there in case of any problems. So what if they just leave the session open on any one of the users' computer, and if that guy is actually an insider threat, yeah, privilege escalation starts to happen. He will he will add himself into a group. He will make a GPA modification if he just wants to see the domain burn over there to bring the complete network down. So all these, yeah, we will be discussing about like how ADR Plus can help you. But I would recommend you keep a close eye on this particular report or schedule it to run like once in 1 hour. Get a report. Or, we have an out of the box functionality to drop you an email when someone logs into more than 2 computers that can be done on custom basis. So I would recommend, you guys will have to take some action. This is all manual. We will just tell you that this particular guy has logged into the third computer or more than 2 computers over there. But then it's on you. You will have to do some manual work, make sure the session is actually closed properly. So you can stop an insider attack. Okay. That's all with it. I am just going to skip with this local logon activity for today because we have, the agenda for tomorrow will be talking about the actual logons and logoffs, user productivity calculations and everything. So I believe it'll make sense if I talk about the log off during the actual attendance report. So I'm just going to skip about this particular category for now. Okay. So the next thing, what I would recommend you telling is, let's say you just left the session open on a user's computer over there. Now privilege escalation starts. The first thing, what will it come to my mind or anybody's mind will be adding themselves to some elevated group. Elevated group meaning not just the out of the box, group like domain admins or enterprise admins. So anything, let's say if you guys have some SQL groups or some application groups, anything. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm just getting a lot of chat, stating you guys have some lag between the audio and the video. My apologies. I'm just so sorry about it. So what I'll do is, I'll change the video. I'll go through tabs. I'll wait for like a few seconds, and then I will start talking. And I'm so sorry about it. Okay. Hope you understand. I'm sorry. Great. So where was I? Yep. Group modifications. So let it be domain admins or enterprise admins. Let's say some SQL groups or application groups. So those are the groups you will have to keep a tab on. Whenever somebody gets added to those groups or removed from those groups, you will have to be instantly notified. So if you can see that, that's legitimate action or not. So I would recommend you guys to create an alert to let you know whenever an action happens to your domain admins group or enterprise admins group, these groups. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just following the chat to make sure you guys are all right. I believe, a few of you guys have commented back again. It seems to be in track again. Thank you so much for keeping me posted, guys. Swear about it. Great. So over here, this is the group management report. We tell you whenever a security group or a distribution group gets created, deleted, modified, whenever a person gets added to the group, removed from the group, everything. Okay. And I've just changed my screen right now into the recently added members, security members report. I hope you guys can see now. This is how it's going to look like. What group was modified? Who modified that group? Who was actually added into that group? I believe I did 2 changes yesterday. I added my account into the event log readers group and the group policy creator owners group over here. And that's what you guys are seeing today. So it tracks immediately every group change. So I would recommend you guys go to the alerts tab over here and then click on new alert profile over here and create alerts to let you know whenever a modification happens to your security groups. Just click on the category, go to group modification, and scroll to the bottom. and choose security group membership changes. And why I'm telling people being added and removed, because let's say I'm an attacker, I get into a domain. I add myself into the domain admin group, and the first thing what I will do is I'll take out the existing admins to make sure I'm not getting a retaliation attack over there. So create this alert profile, and just go to filter, scroll to the right, add a filter, group name equals, click on the add button, and select whatever groups is of your interest. For example, I'm just going to type in admin, and I'm going to select everything which states admin over there. I'm worried about that. That's it. From this second, whenever something happens to your domain, all these admin groups, you guys will be notified about an email or an SMS, or you can execute a patch, revert the change if that's your interest. Okay, that's one. So you can be on top of it. Let's say apart from this, you guys might miss out emails, right? So, or let's say you want to do a health check once a week. You need to know how many people got added into your domain admins group. Again, just go to the recently added members to security groups over here. Just search for the group of your interest. You will get the list of list of reports for that particular group. Just go and click the star icon, add to, and schedule this report. So give a name and description, and choose the frequency. When do you want this to run? Weekly, might be a Monday morning or a Sunday evening. So on that day, the product will generate this report for the complete previous week, and it has the capability of dropping you an email with the report as a zip file, or simply publish as an HTML link, or you can just uncheck all these options. The product will create the report in whatever format you want and store in whatever location you give here. So you guys can you admins can share a document, share a folder, and keep storing all the scheduled reports over there. Any reports you see in the product over here on the left pane, you can create alerts for them, you can customize them, and you can schedule them to run on once in whatever time frame you want. Okay, so that's one. That's a basic privilege escalation. The next thing, what I would like to talk about is GPO auditing, because I love GPOs, and as much as I love GPOs, it is actually a pain to find what exactly happened in my group policy. Because as you guys know, we have like 5,000 plus settings and close to 6,000 plus settings in a group policy. And to find what exactly got modified, that's a nightmare. That's everybody's nightmare. So for that, we have two sets of report within the product. If you guys can see here, we will have GPO management and GPO setting changes. So GPO management is going to give you some basic information about recently created GPOs. Let me show you how it looks like. This is how it's going to look like. What GPO, who created it, and all the other information. The same applies for recently deleted whenever a link changes, and it can also get you complete GPO history. As you guys look here, seems like I made all the changes over there. Okay, sure, but this is not enough, right? This is what it can get from Event Viewer. This is not enough. So for that, the product, we have this next category. I would call these advanced GPO auditing. For this to work, you will have to have the group policy management, the GPMZ feature turned on the server where you have the product installed. I would recommend you guys go to the server manager and add that feature. Okay, so please add the feature, the group policy management feature. Let me just show that to you. Okay, I'm just going to go to the next, group policy management. I have got it installed. So please get this installed, because that is the only way the product can talk to your group policies over there. So what happens in the background is the product, whenever a change happens in a group policy, I'm just going to take a simple example of account lockout policy, an account lockout threshold being modified over there. So let's say I didn't want my account to get locked out in my domain, and so I'm just changing the account lockout threshold from 5 to 0. So what happens is that will register a directory service change event in your event viewer, but that's not enough. The product will talk to your that particular GPO, let's say the default domain controllers policy. It'll talk to the policy using GPMZ, take a copy of it as an XML file. It'll bring it back to the installation folder. It's going to save that over there. But before saving it, it's going to verify what exactly, with the previous copy, and it's going to tell you what exactly got modified, who modified it, and what was the old value and new value, everything. My bad. This is how it's going to look like. What policy was modified? Hope you guys can see the screen now. The date and timestamp, when it was modified, the DC, obviously the PDC, and who was the guy who made the change. When I click details, it's going to tell you exactly what happened. I removed the account lockout duration. I removed the recent lockout counter, which was in 15 minutes, and I modified the account lockout threshold from 3 invalid logon attempts to 0 to make sure the account never gets locked out over there. Okay. So this is amazing. So if you guys get an email that one of your critical group policies is modified over there, you can get into the product immediately, see what exactly got modified. If you think that's not an approved change, you can revert it back immediately, but manually. Okay. Sure. And sure, Ray. Ray has just asked me to show how to add the roles again. So all you have to do is go to the server manager, go to the dashboard, click on add roles and features. Next. I'm going to choose my DC. This is all I have. Next. And I'm not worried about the roles. I'm going to go to the next. It's under features, group policy management. All you have to do is just check the box and install it. Once done, the product will get that capability. If you guys are in the professional edition of AD Auto Plus, and if you guys have not yet installed the GPMZ feature, I would recommend you guys to do it, please, because that gives you amazing reports under the advanced GPO auditing. Okay, thank you. Right, so that's done with the GPO. So we have the similar kind of report for most of the settings over there. Most of the critical settings within a group policy, we have the same kind of reports with the old and new values. And one limitation for the old and new values to be popped up in the product, your domain controllers have to be 2008 and above, because for 2003 we don't, Windows doesn't have that functionality. That's one. Okay, so next main thing, what I would like to say when coming to privilege escalation is permission changes, because as you guys know, you will have a lot of helpless technicians over there. If one wrong technician has some wrong level of access on one of your elite OUs, that could be a problem. So if something gets changed, if an OU's permission gets modified, or if a domain level permission gets modified over there, you guys need to be notified about it. And also, you guys know how ACLs look over there, right? So you will have completely filled up. The window itself will be completely filled up. To find what exactly happened is a nightmare again. So let me take a simple example. We spoke about OU permissions, so I'm going to show you the same actually over here. Let's say, I modified a permission for the California office OU over here. So what you have is remarks. When I click on the more under remarks, it's going to tell you exactly what was the change that I made. You can see that over here. And apart from this, if you guys want to know the old and new values, that is also available. You can just click on more under the new ACLs and all the ACLs. The product is going to get you the list of auditing, the list of permissions, and the owner details, everything. So what more do we want to find exactly what got changed in our domain over there? That's more than enough, right? So you guys can go and change if that's not an approved change by yourself. And we go on to DNS permission changes for this one. So that is what I would say, something important which you guys have to track in Active Directory. And as I said to you yesterday, everything needs to be monitored in Active Directory. But if you guys ask me, what you guys should create an alert for, what are the reports that you guys should be customizing for, I would say these will take my first priority. Okay. And apart from that, if you guys need to know what are your admin users doing, just go to user management over here, expand user management, scroll to the last report on the user management, and or I'm so sorry, account management, administrative user actions. My bad. So go over here, you will find everything, right from user management, computer management, group management, that is like user modifications, computer account modifications, group modifications, OU modifications, GPO modifications. What are the admin activities that happen in your domain for whatever time frame you select over here? You get everything in one single window. So you can keep a track on what your admins are doing in your domain on a daily basis, right? So you can just, create, I wouldn't recommend creating alerts for this because you guys will be getting tons of emails. You can schedule this to run like, once a day even. So when you step into the office, you can just get to review every admin activities that happen in your domain for the previous day. Okay. So that is what I would say from my end, important things which you would like to track from an admin standpoint. Okay, so we spoke about account lockout, privilege escalations, delegations, track what the admins do, and GPO auditing. Okay, now this guy, before, all these reports, whatever you're collecting within the product, right? Because this is a question from everyone, either customers or someone who's looking into the product. We are collecting all these events, which will be getting stored in the default database, Postgre, either Postgre database, or if you guys have an MS SQL as well. Anything is going to eat up space in your domain in that particular machine. So you will have to give a lot of storage for the product. But again, you have an option to have a control on that. Okay. So all you got to do, if you guys have not scheduled that, please go to the admin tab. Okay. And once you're in the admin tab, just search for configuration. And under the configuration, the second option will be archive events. Click on archive events. Now we get the list of database tables available within the product. You can get to know which guy is eating a lot of space within the table as well. For example, in my case, file integrity is using 2.68 GB of data. Local logon information is using 3.94 GB of data. So what you can do is you can enable all these, select all the checkboxes and put in some number of days, either based on your compliance or based on the log intake, the volume of logs the product is intaking on a daily basis. Okay, so let's say we put in 90 over here. What will happen is the product every day at 2 a.m. in the morning, it's going to scan the database and it's going to look out for any of these categories. And let's say, for example, it found something related to ADFS, your Federation Server Auditing. And the second thing, it's going to look like if any of those ADFS reports is older than 90 days. If yes, that information will be taken out, and we have an amazing compression method. We have 98% compression. So 1 GB or 8 in the 900 to 1 MB to 1 GB will be reduced to 40 or 50 MB. That's what you get from the product. And it can store in whatever location you give here. Any location, you can point it to a NAS drive, you can throw it on a file server, anything, or you can even have it in the same server as ADR. You have compressed the files completely. But whenever an auditor steps in, let's say 6 months after this, an auditor steps in, you don't have to worry about it. You have two options to bring the data back to you. If you see the third option under the configuration will be restore archived events. You'll just have to click on that and choose the time frame for which you need the report and choose whatever category that you're looking for. Let's say I'm choosing LDAP auditing over here. You will get the list of things which is related to LDAP auditing, and it falls in that particular time frame. You will get the time frame as well over here. All you gotta do is select whichever timestamp makes sense to you and click on this icon, load it back to the product. Okay, so it's going to take a few minutes to be brought into the database again, but once done, you can get the reports from the normal page, the normal reports, how you guys do it on a daily basis. Or you have the second option. Just below that in the left pane, you will have another option called as search archived events, right? So what happens over here is everything which is getting archived from the product, it will be stored in a particular folder, right? So you can index everything within that particular folder. We use Lucene as a search engine within the product. So once you simply index, you can get to know how many files are indexed, how many are not indexed, how many is in the process of indexing, everything. Once indexed, you can simply go through the reports over here as you normally do, and you can get the reports, for whatever time frame that makes sense to you, whatever time frame you want the report for. So you have both the options. So the product does auto thing for you. It alerts you whenever something happens, and you can even archive the data forever, forensic analysis. How much of a time you want to go back. From the second you install the product in your domain, it starts consuming the data once all the configuration is intact. From that second, we do not purge any data. We have it forever. Okay, so that's archiving. Now we'll have to talk about another guy, the fourth guy, analytics. So all these, we were talking about like something happens. Let's say brute force, when someone enters like multiple wrong passwords, the product can let you know about it. It can run a script. It can block you. Perfect. But what happens if I know my friend's password? If one of my colleagues knows my password and he makes a clean attack, who is going to tell you about that? Nobody, right? So this guy, analytics, will be a friend in those cases. So what's going to happen is, if you guys have installed the product today, like recently, I would have to tell that the product, that this particular feature will be dead for 7 days. He will be listening in the background on what's happening in your domain completely for 7 days. And on the 8th day, it's going to wake up early at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's going to crunch all the data, whatever it collected. And at 5 o'clock, it's going to set a baseline for every user in a domain. It knows what every user object does in a domain on the 8th day at 5 a.m. So from then on, if something wrong happens, let's take a case. It understood that Praveen makes an interactive logon only during the weekdays, business hours. And it knows that Praveen, the MEPDC1, my domain controller, has taken a remote access from Praveen only from Praveen's PC, not from anything else. And it knows that I go through like some 10 or 15 files on a daily basis from my IT folder, not anything apart from that. Okay. So once it understands all this, let's say one of my colleagues, let's say John, he actually knows my password. Why I'm bringing this is, that is another kind of attack. You guys would be familiar with that, NTDS.DID extraction. Well, what if, I can take a shadow copy of your C volume completely. I can extract your active directory database with the private keys. I can make a clean attack. So if that happens, let's say a guy just knows all of our passwords over here, he's using my account to get into the domain. If he is actually making an interactive logon, let's say on a Saturday morning, the product will capture him immediately, stating that's an anomaly based on unusual business hour activity. Just click on the analytics tab over here, and you will find all this AD analytics summary. Unusual activity summary by user, by server, everything. So let's say he logs in on a Saturday morning. The product is going to capture that as an anomaly, telling Praveen has never logged in on a Saturday morning, but he's doing it right now. So the admin will be notified, and the same, you guys can call a script over there and disable Praveen's account. Okay. Sorry guys, I believe my voice is breaking up. Is it fine now? Just let me know over the chat window. Perfect. Thank you. Great. Thank you. So that happens. If someone logs in, out of the business hours, out of my routine, the product is gonna detect that as an anomaly based on unusual business hour activity, and it's gonna drop the admin an email. You can call the same batch file, disable the guy's account over there. That's one. Or let's say my colleague, John is smart enough. He's actually making the logon when I am in the office on a Tuesday. Okay, so what will happen in that case is, the product will not detect that based on the business hour. But let's say he wants to make an attack. He wants to make some modifications. He logs into the domain controller with my account. He remotes it. That will be tagged as an anomaly based on unusual host activity, because the PC has never taken in a remote access from Praveen's account from John's PC before. So that's an anomaly. Let's say, I just left my session open. John is sitting on my computer right now, and he's just using my account to not copy all the files. Let's say I have access to the finance folder. He's going to go through all the documents over there. He's just going to open like 50 or 100 files and read what's available within them That also will be tagged as an anomaly based on unusual threshold activity. The count, if I make only 10 success or 10 file reads per day, if John makes even 11, that's going to be tagged as an anomaly. The admin will be notified about it. So, and I'm just going to show you a report how it's going to look like. Unusual activity summary over here, unusual file activity count based on user, file failure count based on user. Let's say, unusual activity, file failure count is 43. You want to know what exactly happened on that? Just click on the 43. You will be taken in, right? Let's say, this guy, Vamber, he has multiple failures over here. His mean count, his average is 10 activities, but he has done 30. He has done 38. Okay, so that is a bit of an anomaly over there, right? So you get notified about it immediately. And you found the person who is behaving, abnormal over there. If you need to find what are all the other things this guy has done in my domain, it might be a compromised account, or he might be an insider attack. Just copy the user account, go to the search option. Okay, on the right top, you have the magnifying glass icon. Go to the search option, search, just put in that guy's name over here. You will get the list of AD accounts which is related to that particular person if you have multiple domains configured. So this is that account. So I'm going to choose that account over here. I get the list of logons and logoffs for yesterday. He didn't do anything else yesterday. Let's see for this quarter. Okay, so you get a neat report. How many times he actually failed to log on, how many times his authentication was successful. He has modified 9 users in this quarter. He has changed the attributes for 5 users over there. Bad password, 1,180. That is something which you'll have to look into. A logon success, and it's in millions. I can't even count that. So local logon failures, other types, everything. How many users he created in these 3 months? How many users he deleted? Everything. If something seems fishy for you, for example, let's say he has modified 2 GPS in this particular quarter, just click on that 2 over there. You will get to know what exactly he made. So everything in one single window. If you guys are not using this report until now, I would recommend you guys, please use this. Just go with the search option, type any user account over there. So let's say I'm going to search for mine, Praveen. Okay, so this is my account. I'm going to choose this month, let's say. Yep, there you go. I have set passwords for one of the user. I have modified 3 login failures. I have unlocked 3 users. I have created 3 users. Everything. I have modified 11 OUs, created 3 OUs. Everything. Even if I extend the schema, I move FISMA role to a new server, everything will be displayed in one single report. This is amazing. You guys gotta put this to use. Okay. So that is all to give a heads up or to summarize actually what we saw today. We started in finding like what action happened, who did that action, when, and where did it take place. We saw like about what are the things which you will have to audit in a domain, mandate things which you will have to have an idea, putting the archiving to use, putting the analytics to use, and more importantly, the aggregate report, the search option to use. Put that to use. You guys will get an idea of every action that a particular person has made in the domain. That's amazing. Okay. So in the next session, that's scheduled for October 1st at 11 a.m. EDT again, we will be seeing about configuring Cloud Active Directory. Okay, so if you guys have an Azure license, and if you guys are hybrid already, we will see about how to configure Azure Active Directory in product, and how can it get both the login activities, hybrid login activities, on-prem, and Azure activities in one single pane of glass. We will talk about local logons. That is, we will talk about monitoring your employees' productivity over there. And this might come in handy at times and for a few domains. If you guys have a lot of contract employees, if you'd like to pay them based on the hours they work, the second one will be a best fit for you. Then we will see about file system activities. We will talk about how to configure file servers, how to configure NAS storage devices. What are the reports that they can get from these file systems? And for the last, we will talk about Active Directory Federation servers auditing, Active Directory LDS, printer auditing, you can get to know, because that is again a data sec actually. You need to know what's happening to your data. If someone prints it, you can find it. It tells you what user printed what page, what document, everything. And computers start up and shut down. If computers are not shut down for a long time, you know what to do. You can get that report as well. And before I'm going to leave you guys, as is today, I have like 2 polls, and I would recommend you guys if you can just take like 10 seconds and answer that for me. It's coming on the screen right now. The next session is for October 1st. It's not for today. It's for the Tuesday. I see a few people asking questions. It's for October 1st. Okay, thank you so much. And the last question is on your way. This will be the last one. Yes, every sessions are recorded, and once we are done, we have the next two sessions scheduled for 1st and the 2nd of October. That is Tuesday and Wednesday. So I would once those sessions are done, I would send all these recordings and slide decks to you guys. Great. So thank you so much, guys, for taking the poll as well for me. So as always, if you guys have any questions or if you want to send any comments to me, kudos to me, anything, whatever you have in mind, any questions from the product side or need some help, please drop me an email. You have my email on the screen right now, or you can drop any one of us from our team an email over here, and we'll be more than happy to help you. I hope today was great, and I'm looking forward to meeting you guys on Tuesday. Thank you. You all have a great week. Talk to you next Tuesday.